All right. Welcome, everyone, to the Lead with Clarity and Purpose podcast. It is so good. So good to have you all today. And I've got a wonderful person, not just a wonderful person, but a wonderful friend, someone that I'm calling a friend because she's got the heart. She feels it. The moment I met her, we were flowing together. Same vibe, same energy, and she is all about purpose. So you're probably sensing, what's up, Dr. Hope, with all of this excitement? Get ready because we're going to be talking about legacy leadership. And you know that that's something I am very passionate about because we've got to live life beyond just showing up. And we've got to remember that we have to live life on purpose. So that's why this topic is so vital. And what a better time to talk about this in Black History Month to remind us, everyone, that you can lead with purpose beyond your title. That's why that legacy matters. So I encourage you, grab your coffee, grab your water, sit tight because this is going to be good. So before I even go further, Dr. Fabiola Riobe is a wonderful global leadership strategist. She's the founder of Sati Sum Consulting. And I did ask her, what does Sati Sum mean? You know what she said? I am enough. That is so awesome. So she is a global education leader, strategist, founder of Sati Sum Consulting, where she helps leaders move from reactive decision making to purpose-driven impact. She's grounded in her lived experience and executive leadership across continents. Her work focuses on legacy leadership, leading with clarity, courage, and responsibility to those who come after us. So, Dr. Fabiola Riobe, welcome.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hope. And we're going to doctor each other to death in this conversation. Feel free to call me Fabiola.
Sounds good. Sounds good. But it's so good to have you, Dr. Fabiola. I love Dr. Fabiola.
All right, I'll take it because Dr. Hope, you're giving me hope.
I love how that sounds. But to our audience, to all of those who are listening, here's what our conversation is going to be around. We're going to talk about purpose-driven leadership. What does that look like beyond that title that you have? Or you may say, you know what? I don't have a title. Even better. This conversation applies to you as well. We're also going to talk about long-term impact. How do you take what you uncovered today, that legacy, long term, not just short-lived, but long term, you know? And how do you steward what you've got? That way you're a blessing, in my own words. You're making impact to the people around you long term again. And then you're able to influence the people you work with. You're also able to influence your organization to do amazing things because each one of us has a purpose. So that's what this conversation is going to be about. So, Dr. Fabiola, as we're unpacking legacy, leadership, what does this mean to you personally?
Now, that is a great question, and you definitely touched on it in your introduction. And I just have to say thank you so much, really, Dr. Hope, for the work that you're doing, for the voices that you're bringing to the forefront, and making sure that we're building community in spaces where it doesn't always exist to reinsure everyone that you're in it with a team. There are other people who care about it. Like I said, you definitely said it. When you talk about legacy leadership, the first thing you have to recognize is that this is beyond a title, right? This is beyond just leading for achievement. It's really about how do you start leading for strategic impact and leading in a space for those who come after you. They have something worth inheriting. And that has really defined it for me in my leadership journey. I think about legacy, not just for self, but for me, legacy for your beyond yourself. And so, again, not about titles, not about quarterly wins, not about visibility, but it's whether or not the systems, the people, the spaces, and the culture that you're influencing, are they stronger because you're there?
Hmm.
See, legacy leaders, when they're making decisions, they make decisions not just for the moment, but they're making it with the future in mind. And that resonates with them, even when no one is watching, even when there's no accolades to be received, even if no one sees what they see. So that's the important. And I think that's the differentiator
I
when you
love
start
that.
looking at, well, what is a legacy leader?
Yeah.
That's someone who's not chasing accolades and not chasing rewards, but they recognize we have to be ahead of the game, right? I
Yeah.
have to make sure that what comes after me is worth it and is sustainable.
Yeah, you know what? As you say that, a lot of thoughts are just running through my mind. And talking about that executive who is
Mhm.
all about metrics, who's looking at the numbers, what do you say to that leader who is so focused on KPIs, but not even thinking about legacy?
It's not, I said this, I was like, 2026, we all come with our words, right? And so for me, my word has been and, right? Because it's not just a trade-off. It's that inclusivity of it's this and. So it's the KPIs and the people. It's the KPIs and the culture. It's the KPIs and the impact. So, what I'm saying here is that for legacy leadership to work, it goes beyond ownership and it's really focused on that stewardship, right? It's the stewardship, it's the process, it's the journey as to how do we get to those KPIs. It's the journey as to how do I build a culture where people feel included and their voices are heard and there's shared accountability under that mission and that purpose. So it's that focus of we're not trading off. It's not this or this, but it's the entire ecosystem. Because
That
like I
is really
said,
good.
it's that stewardship that's
Yeah,
important.
that is so powerful. I love the way you frame that. The stewardship beyond taking ownership. It's not
Absolutely.
about ownership only. Nothing wrong with taking ownership, but who is coming alongside with you,
Absolutely.
right? I really love that differentiation. So, Dr. Fabiola, has there ever been a moment in your own career when you realized that the way you lead would outlive your role?
You know, I think about it not just moment, but it's that point where it's like the parent and then your child grows up and then they get that aha and they say, oh mom, I understood why you were doing this way, and so finally thank you. And so I think my leadership shift, right, came to me when I had a junior team member. And what I mean junior is that they weren't one of my direct reports, but they reported to a direct report of mine. So they were about two or three levels in the hierarchy under me. And when he came to me and talked about how if he took on an extra scope of work and got an additional training, how that could expedite one of our new project rollouts.
Mhm.
And to see that individual already start positioning themselves in growing their scope, in growing their visibility, I felt like, okay, we're on to something. People are seeing themselves, quote unquote, in the trajectory and in the growth of the success. It's not transactional anymore.
Mhm.
Everybody sees how
Mhm.
their part is going to contribute. You know, because very early on in my career, I've had a great mentor who always said to me that leadership is not about your title. Leadership is about your ability to create other leaders and empower other people to step into their leadership.
Yeah.
And so those are the opportunities that I look for when
Yeah.
I'm working with individuals, is recognizing that it doesn't really matter where you sit in the organization. What's
Mhm.
important is how do you see your contribution
Yeah.
to to the work and to the organization? Where do you see yourself?
That's powerful. I love how you break that down into leadership not being a title, but being intentional.
Absolutely.
Being intentional on the type of leader that you want to be, knowing that it's not all about being only task driven, but creating and building and empowering your team to come alongside you.
Yep.
That's way that leadership outlives your current role. And I
Absolutely.
love what your mentor said to you there. And that's really a shift. That could be a shift for many, many leaders who are only focused on me and me only, who can see me, who can see that I'm hitting it the mark, but really taking it a step further beyond themselves. There's something my husband used to say, and I share it everywhere I go when I have an opportunity and there's a connection to it. And he says, if you think you're a leader and you look behind you and there's no one following you, you're only leading yourself.
Yep.
But if you look behind you and you have followers, those are your leaders. So that can go one or two ways, but it goes back again to that mindset that you're talking about. And that is so, so good. And I'm also hearing from what you're saying, it's important to be around the right people.
Absolutely.
That matters so, so much. Being around the right people that will empower you and help you grow. And at the same time, also be proactive on what you want to do for yourself while you're there. And also look back and see who else can I impact? Like you
Ab-
said, long term stewardship.
Absolutely.
So I know you mentioned your mentor.
Yes.
What experiences have shaped you into the leader that you are today?
You know, I would love to say that it's just this one experience but I do believe that starting from just the family I was born into, coming from a very strong matriarchal family where there was a lot of legacy, a lot of focus on not only education, but on service.
Mhm.
Service to your community, service to your family, service to people around you. So at a
Mm.
very early age, it was instilled in me that you have one role in life, and that role is for you to be the best Fabiola Riobe that you can be. So when you're in an environment, when you're taking up space, you have to bring your best. You have to make sure that because you're there, it's a better experience. Because you're there,
Like that.
right? Things are happening in a way that if you weren't there, it wouldn't be happening. You can't just take up space for the sake of taking up space. And so, what that taught me was, to your point, not only surround myself with the right types of individuals, but to also recognize when you're in a space and you're not valued and you're not appreciated, it's not your job to try to shift the mindset, but it is your job to recognize that and also recognize that that space might not be for you. That space might not be for you. Right? And to go to a place where you can be valued, where you can have impact, where you are received, and where you are in alignment, because that's what it's all about. And so for me, my leadership and my journey has been shaped truly to what are those places and those opportunities where I'm in alignment, because impact can happen where everyone is trying to go in their own direction. It has to happen where you're in alignment, there's synergy, there's focus, and we're saying this is the direction that we're moving in. And we go. I think about, a school of fish or a flock of birds, right?
Mhm.
Everybody knows the direction that they're moving in. That's what makes it so beautiful when you're seeing that all come together.
That's fantastic. Man, I love what you were going there about that leader who is trying to fight it, wanting to change other minds. And that's impossible because you can't really change people, but you can change you. You can
The
change
change.
yourself. Yeah. And it goes back to clarity. What do you want for you? So I love that. So, Dr. Fabiola, what do you say to that leader who's probably at a crossroads right now?
Mm.
struggling because they think they're not fitting in anymore. They think that their season is over. Maybe it's time for next, but they're kind of confused. They're not making any impact anymore. What do you say to that type of leader?
Ooh, it's hard to be in a crossroad, right? Where sometimes when you're in a situation, you feel like the decision is going from bad to worse. And you said it. You said it. It's not about needing more time. It's about needing more clarity. And so my first role, particularly as an executive strategist, and if I'm faced with that type of conversation with the leaders that I walk alongside, first I say to them and I remind them that you're not failing. You're not failing. You're not crazy. You're not wrong. You're in this space and you're responding to a system that might reward, for example, it might reward speed over reflection,
Mm,
and that's not in alignment with you.
mm-hmm.
And kind of reminding them their why and helping them get to that place where they're confident enough to know that they have to be first at the core in alignment with themselves and helping them build that muscle of pause, that muscle of self-reflection, and helping them remind them of their clarity will only give them more confidence to make the appropriate decision that's not good for the moment, but the appropriate decision with intention that is long-standing and in service not only to them, but also to the institution. Because no one serves any place that they're in if they're misaligned with it. There's no good that comes from that, not internally and definitely not externally. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that first pause is just to remind them that let's get that clarity and let's remove that doubt that they're having.
Yeah. So I'm glad you talked about your work that you do with leaders. What about that leader that say, you know what? I've been here for 20 years. I'm not giving anything anymore.
Mhm.
Why does a legacy leadership even matter? What do you say to that leader?
I think it's okay for someone to be in a place for 20 years and recognize that they've done what they can do and they've gotten what they have gotten and their time is up, right? And that's when they have to make that conscious decision of, I have to make way for that new leader.
Yeah.
So that point is reminding them, okay, in your day one, what are the things you wish you had in place? So that their transition is more around the opportunity rather than it's about that feeling of I'm done and then just being disruptive for the sake of disruption, right? I
Mm-hmm.
love to say to people, when you're coming in an organization is beautiful, it's rosy, it's exciting. Your goal is to have your exit as beautiful, as rosy, and as exciting,
That's good.
right? For you and the organization. And that requires a shift on both ends.
Mm-hmm.
Organizations also have to recognize that, okay, you know, I love it. It's like maybe your last 6 quarters weren't your best, but you've given 15, 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
You've had best moments.
Mm-hmm.
And so let me not measure you against your worst, but let me recall your best and say thank you for that service and help you build a legacy where it's like, you've done this and we've recognized you for this. Thank you. And because of you, we're able to usher in a new wave of leaders into a system that you help build and maintain. Because I
Mm-hmm.
always say, whether it's, 2 days or 20 years, whatever it is, any moment you've given to an organization, there's been value to it and
Mm-hmm.
lessons learned because you've made that decision to be there where you could have been anywhere else. And so there has to be value assigned to that.
Absolutely. I love that. And I know there are many, many leaders whom I have worked with who are experiencing that, who are in that season of, I don't have anything else to give, but I'm still not sure why legacy leadership even matters. So I love the way you put that. So for you, what values guide you? You know, we at the beginning we brought up values when you alluded to it a little bit, but you got out of it.
Absolutely.
Let's get back into that. What values guide you as a leader?
The number one value for me, which is probably rooted in my faith, in my own moral compass, in my formal and informal education, and it has always been the fact of respect. Respect for people, respect for the situations, and respect for yourself.
Mhm,
If I were to go back to my elementary school, I'm pretty sure that my teachers and my principals and my friends that I've interacted with, they would all say, no, that's Fabiola, right? Respect for yourself as to what is your consistency and your authenticity and how you show up and what people are expecting to get when they're engaging and connecting with you. So that value of respect and integrity,
mhm,
they mean a lot and they guide me, right? It's about that, well, doing what's right when it's hard, doing what's right when there's no reward, doing what's right when perhaps you're the only one who is doing it, right? But
mhm,
are you able to face anyone eye to eye? Are you able to face yourself
mm,
in the mirror after you've made a decision? Because it's uncomfortable.
yeah.
It's uncomfortable. But I do believe the regret of going against it could be detrimental, right? It's at that cost of, are you going to sacrifice your character? Are you going to sacrifice your own integrity?
Mhm,
Or will you be able to be proud of the individual that you are? So my biggest value is rooted in that core of really respect. You know, people say that, oh, Fabiola, you're such a humanist. And absolutely, because I do believe that people come before any type of process or outcome. We have to be people forward. We have to be people forward.
that's a great distinction. So how do you want people to feel after working with or being led by you?
Empowered, confident, hopeful. You know, I love to say, and my speaking of husbands, my husband always says this thing when we're kind of faced with decisions that are difficult, right? That are not so obvious, and you kind of have to, okay, I'm about to take this one. This is gonna hurt,
Yeah.
and he always says, remember, no one says it's gonna be easy, but it's
Mm,
absolutely gonna be worth it.
I love
And that's the core that I remind my leaders that leadership, in title, in function, in every essence of the word, it's absolutely hard. But at the end of the day, it is absolutely worth it.
it. So worth it. So, so worth it. And it takes people.
Yes.
You know, growing up, my dad would say that no man is an island.
Mm-hmm.
He was so right. And it takes a village
Yes.
because I alone cannot do this. Just imagine the conversation that you and I are having. It would be different if it was just me, but having two minds together makes it even better. So it takes a village, it takes people, and it takes going out of our comfort zone
Absolutely.
to become what we want to be. So every action we take is leading to something. And we've got to move. No one is going to move if you don't move. So I really love that. So, Dr. Fabiola, for leaders listening right now,
Mhm.
what is one simple shift that they can make as we get into the month of February in order for them to start leading as a legacy leader? What is one shift? Or if you have more, feel free to share.
I think we're going to work with one, um, particularly as we're moving into times where leadership is so much more important than ever before.
Mhm.
And they're looking for strong leaders. They're looking for that sense of security at the end of the day. They're looking for something to hold on to. And so one shift that I would ask my legacy leaders to keep in mind is I invite them to ask one simple question and to really think of it with intention. Before they make their next big decision or before they make their next big move, I want them to ask themselves, who carries the weight of this decision after I move on? So
That's
I'm
good.
going to make this decision, but who actually has to live with
Hmm.
the decision? Because that question doesn't only change how you show up, but it forces you to lead with responsibility
Mm.
and not just authority. Because people love the authority of leadership,
Yeah.
but with that authority comes great responsibility. And when you understand the full spectrum of
Mm.
the decisions that you're making, the privilege you hold to even make decisions, and then you go deeper and you say, well, who has to live with this decision?
Yeah.
After I make this decision, who has to carry it? And what is going to be the impact to them?
Yeah.
That's a different conversation.
That by itself is so powerful. That is so, so good. So, Dr. Fabiola, thank you for sharing that insight to our leaders. If someone wanted to know more about you, can you share a little bit on who you are, what you do?
Absolutely. I love it. Who you are, right? Because there's a lot. There's a lot in the name.
Yes.
There's a lot in the name. And um, simply put, I would love to say that as a first generation American, first generation college graduate with a doctorate degree, at the core, what I am is a helper, someone
Mm.
who's rooted in service. You know, as a function, I'm a global leadership strategist, right? I spent over 15 years working across education, nonprofits, executive spaces, and what I've seen are leaders who are built in urgency. They're forced into spaces that perhaps they're not necessarily always equipped to do what they need to do. So that has allowed me to build an arsenal. I like to say it's allowed me to build a toolbox where I get to come in now and walk along these executives and these leaders and to help them pause and to create space for them for reflection as a confident, as a brain trust. So my work is really around how do leaders show up not just to lead an institution, but to lead with intention so that the decisions that they make are not reactive, but
Yeah.
they're made with the urgency of this is something that I could be proud of. And that's really my work, rooted in service, and rooted in the fact that, again, just like Sati Sum, I am enough. We
Mm.
are enough, right? But it's about creating space and opportunity so that we show up in
Yeah.
our capabilities.
Mm. So good. So, so good. I hope you guys, as you're listening to this or you're watching this, that you are feeling all of what I am feeling on the inside. And I'm feeling all I'm feeling because I'm in alignment with everything she's saying. I love all of it. So, how to connect with her will be in the comments. All of her social media handles that I have access to. I know she's on LinkedIn, but you're going to have all of that detail in the comments. But before we wrap up, Dr. Fabiola, is there any lasting words you would like to leave with the audience as they listen to this? What is one thing you want to leave with them?
Absolutely. I would just say to everyone that, again, leadership is more than a title. And all of us are natural born leaders, and we all have a purpose and a contribution
Yeah.
to make and to leave in the spaces that we're in. And just to remind everyone, you will always be the best at being exactly who you are. So just show up. Just show up.
All right, just show up. And thank you so much, Dr. Fabiola Riobe. Thank you for your heart. Thank you for sharing because I could you just nailed every bit of it. It was real. I felt it. And I believe everything that you said. Thank you for your time today. And to our listeners, you know to continue to lead with clarity, continue to lead with purpose. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.